UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Gastelum. 14 fights on the entire fight card. The main event, Jared Cannonier and Kelvin Gastelum on short notice. The original fight was supposed to be Paulo Costa and Jared Cannonier. I probably would have favored Paulo Costa to win that one, but that one did get canceled. Now we do have another short notice fight for Kelvin Gastelum. He fought Robert Whittaker on short notice. Now he's fighting Jared Cannonier on short notice, so it should be a really good main event right there. We got Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval in the flyweight division, two top guys in the top 8 of the flyweight division. Brian Kelleher and Domingo Pilarte. It's been a while since Domingo Pilarte has had a fight, but he's coming back. We got William Knight, Fabio Sharon in the light heavyweight division. The GOAT Parker Porter's on here versus Chase Sherman. Vince Pichel, Austin Hubbard, Austin Lingo, and Luis Saldana. Clay Guida, Marco Madsen's a good fight right there. Two really solid wrestlers. Clay Guida, you just never know with the man's cardio. I mean, he just keeps on putting on that pressure, and the man just keeps on going. It's absolutely insane. We got Ramiz Barahimas, Sasha Palanika, B. Malecki, Josiane Nunes, Jesse Schrader, Mana Martinez. There's a lot of fights. 14 on the whole entire fight card. Roosevelt Roberts, Ignacio Bahamondes, Courtney Casey, Liana Jojua. Got Abdulrazak Hassan, Antonio Braganito. So it's a pretty solid fight card. There is 14 fights on the fight card, which is a lot of fights for a UFC fight night right here. Cannot wait for these fights to happen. But if you guys are new to this channel, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this a full card prediction to, let's go 40 likes on the live stream right now. Let's just get the video to 40 likes, and I'll be really happy. But overall, a good fight card right here. 14 fights on the entire fight card. But let's get into the first fight on the fight card right here in the middleweight division. Abdulrazak Hassan and Antonio Braganito in the middleweight division. Abdulrazak Hassan is not doing really good. His last 3 losses, a knockout loss on Chaos Williams. He was out for quite a while. Munir Lazez by unanimous decision, and then a dominant wrestling and grappling game from Jacob Malkoun. Unanimous decision loss right there. He's going to be the smaller fighter, the less lengthy fighter than Antonio Braganito right there as well. But he does have power. He does have a lot of power in his hands. 10 wins and 4 losses. First round knockout win on Nico Price. First round knockout win on Saba Homasi. Another first round knockout win on Saba Homasi. A first round knockout win on Charlie Ward. A first round knockout win. I can go down the list, but every single one of this man's wins is a first round knockout. It is absolutely insane, but he does have a really big weakness, which is going to be the wrestling and grappling, as was shown in the fight with Jacob Malkoun. Antonio Braganito is that guy that does have very solid wrestling and very solid grappling, probably more on the grappling side than the wrestling. I do think Antonio Braganito isn't as good of a wrestler as a guy like Jacob Malkoun, but he does have really solid grappling skills, getting a knee bar submission win on Anthony Smith right there in the first round. But that was in 2013. He has not been active at all. Had the 2013 fight, then had a fight in 2014. Came back 3 years later, fought Trevin Giles, got knocked out. And now he's coming back after a 4-year layoff. So I don't know what he's been doing. But he does have a really solid grappling. So either way, whoever wins the fight, Abdul goes out there. He's going to get the knockout in the first round. If Antonio Braganito goes out there and wins, it's going to be a submission. He's going to get the fight down, break his arm, break his neck. I mean, he's going to get the submission. So it's either Antonio gets the submission or Abdulrazak Hassan gets the knockout right there. But personally, I don't think Antonio Braganito's takedowns are as good as a guy like Jacob Malkoun. His wrestling is decent, but I do think Abdulrazak Hassan is going to come out there with a game plan that he needs to finish. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He could get cut from the UFC. So I do see Abdul going out there and just going for a lot of pressure and a lot of volume, looking to do what he always does, land that right hand and get another first round knockout. And that is going to be my prediction. I do think after all of this time with Abdulrazak Hassan just losing 3 fights in a row, I think he finally gets one fight back right here and knocks out Antonio Braganito, who was also coming off a knockout loss 3.5 years ago. So right here, I do think Abdul is going to go out there with a game plan of pressure and then just looking to land that right hand. So I think he pressures Antonio Braganito to the back of the cage and lands a big right hand in the very first round. So first round knockout win for Abdulrazak Hassan. But again, I could definitely see Antonio getting the fight down, using the grappling and getting a submission. But his wrestling just is not as good as a guy like Jacob Malkoun. I think the fight stays in the feet. My prediction, Abdulrazak Hassan by knockout in the very first round. A good fight in the middleweight division. division. Courtney Casey and Liana Jojua in the women's flyweight division. Courtney Casey, not really the best record. She's going to be a little bit older at 34 years old. Again, 9 wins, 9 losses is not a very good record. But if you look at the girls that she was fighting to get that record, Joanne Calderwood, Miranda Marcos isn't too good, Claudia Gadelia, Michelle Watterson, she beat Angela Hill right there, Cynthia Calvillo, Jillian Robertson, all of these girls. She's fighting a lot of really good competition, and a lot of them are very close fights. Split on Felice Harry, split on Michelle Watterson, split on Angela Hill. She's getting a lot of really close decisions. Even her last fight with JJ Aldrich was a split decision loss right there. But for this fight with Liana Jojua and Courtney Casey, the game plan for Courtney Casey is to go out there. She's gonna have the height. She's gonna have the reach significantly in the reach and height. She's gonna have the power advantage. She's gonna have the volume advantage. I believe by double if we go on here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, 4.33 strikes landed per minute from Courtney and 2.53 from Liana Jojua. So the striking is going to be a lot better. The power, the volume, the pressure, the speed, everything to do with the striking. Courtney Casey will have the advantage, even with the height and with the reach. But Liana, I mean, her striking sucks, but she does have a pretty good takedown, and she does have pretty good submission skills. A good armbar submission win against Diana Babita. Armbar submission win, armbar over and over again. But and there's a thing where Courtney Casey kind of accepts getting taken down. She also does have some pretty good armbar submissions, but she kind of accepts being on the back sometimes. Like a couple of the times where she gets taken down, like against JJ Aldrich, she kind of accepted being on the back for a second. Then she's like, "Oh shoot, I'm on the back," and then went to get back up on the feet. But she doesn't really try that hard at getting back up on the feet. That's why there is a good chance Liana Jojua goes out there and grinds out a decision, or maybe gets a submission. But yeah, I just don't like the takedown defense of Courtney Casey, which is 38%. It's not good at all. But with the significant striking advantage she will have in the fight, I'm definitely going to be leaning towards Courtney Casey to win. There's obviously the possibility of Liana Jojua using that wrestling and using that grappling, but overall, I do think Courtney Casey keeps the fight on the feet at range, and just puts on a lot of volume on Liana Jojua, and just 1-2-0, left hook, right hook, over and over again. She has the power, she has the speed, she has the volume. All the striking, she's going to have the advantage. So my prediction right there, I don't really like either fighter. Neither one of them, in my opinion, deserves to really be too far in the UFC. They're very low-level competition in the women's flyweight division. But if I had to choose, I definitely go Courtney Casey winning that fight by a decision. Maybe a 29-28. I think maybe Liana could get one takedown in the fight and control a little bit. But overall, Courtney Casey is the much better striking. So I'll go Courtney Casey by a 29-28 decision right there. Very close fight in the flyweight division. Roosevelt Roberts and Ignacio Bajamon in the lightweight division. The Roosevelt Roberts in this fight with Ignacio Bajamon, I do think he'll have the speed advantage over Ignacio Bajamon. He'll have the grappling advantage. He'll have the wrestling advantage. So in this fight, I would say go on the back foot, have Ignacio Bajamon do what he does and pressure the heck out of you, and then just throw up some really fast strikes and then go down for the takedown, and try to make it more of a grinding, wrestling, and grappling type of decision. But Ignacio Bajamon does have a 100% takedown defense so far inside the UFC. Now, he did fight Edson Gomez and he did fight John Makdessi, so I mean, that takedown defense doesn't really, it doesn't really mean too much because the guys he faced weren't really the best wrestlers. But I do think Ignacio will defend most of the takedowns from Roosevelt Roberts right here. But if Roosevelt were to win, he needs to have a heavy grappling and wrestling game, because on the feet, Ignacio is going to be a little bit taller, a little bit more lengthy, throws a buttload more volume. I mean, I believe he throws like 7 strikes per minute, compared to Roosevelt, I believe throws like 3.7, 3.8. Correct me in the comment section below, but the volume difference is like double for Ignacio Bajamon. So Ignacio is going to go out there, just move on the front foot, throw a lot of volume. At range, he's going to attack that lead leg of Roosevelt Roberts, land a lot of body kicks, front kicks, and all that type of stuff. Eventually, he's going to start to get that fight and start to back up Roosevelt Roberts to the back of the cage. So Roosevelt, he doesn't really have the best head movement, and he doesn't really have the best just movement around the cage. Like, if you're going to be pressuring him, he doesn't go like this and try to counter you. He doesn't go like to the right or to the left. He just goes straight backwards. Then when you do that, your back is going to go to the cage eventually, and that's where Ignacio Bajamon does win the fight, is where your back is to the cage, or he can just start teeing off on you with his strikes. And I do think Ignacio Bajamon is going to go out there with a heavy volume attack, heavy pressure attack, attacking the lead leg at range, and then eventually getting the fight closer to the back of the cage and just throw in volume, where he will have a significant advantage right there. So it seems like an easy prediction for me. I do think Ignacio Bajamon is going to pretty much control the fight on the feet, outland Roosevelt Roberts by a lot, because he just throws a lot more strikes. But I do think Roosevelt Roberts does have the wrestling, he does have the grappling. I don't think he'll be able to implement in the fight, because Ignacio, his pressure is a lot, and Roosevelt is going to be worrying about defending all the volume from Ignacio, not really worrying on his own offensive wrestling or grappling. So I do think the fight does go all the way, and I do think Ignacio Bajamon is, with the volume, with the pressure, with the 1-2s, with the leg kicks, body kicks, all that type of stuff. I'm definitely going to be going with Ignacio Bajamon to win that fight right there by a unanimous decision. Good fight in the lightweight division right there. Mana Martinez and Jesse Schrader in the bantamweight division. Now, Mana Martinez is an absolute beast. 8 wins and 2 losses. Yeah, he did lose to Draco Rodriguez. Not really the best win right there, but he did take the fight to the ground. That's not a thing he usually does. He doesn't usually go out there and even attempt to go to the ground. Usually, like all of these fights right here, first round knockout, second round knockout, first round, second round. Usually, he's keeping the fight on the feet and looking for the counter left hook, looking for the overhand right, looking to pressure you and land a big shot and knock you out. That was a big mistake he made against Draco Rodriguez. Going to the ground with Draco was a bad idea. He should have kept the fight on the feet. If he did, he would have knocked out Draco, in my opinion. But he is fighting Jesse Schrader, who also does not really have the best chin. Out of his 5 wins and 2 losses, both losses are knockout losses. Again, the chin of Jesse Schrader is a little iffy, but he did fight two really good fighters like Marcelo Rojo's in the UFC, and then Montel Jackson. But 2 first-round knockout losses in the bantamweight division, especially fighting another guy like Mana Martinez, who was 8 out of 8 knockouts in the first and second round. It's a little iffy on the chin of Jesse Schrader. Jesse does kind of go to the body a little bit too much. Like there's a lot of times in his fights where he just rips one to the body and he leaves his heads really exposed for the left hook, and we do know Mana Martinez has a deadly left hook, as we saw against David Rivera right there. He's shown that left hook a lot, really powerful overhand as well, but as Jesse Schrader is going for his combinations and going to the body, Mana is going to be just staying back and looking for him to land that left hook, and maybe an overhand right. I mean, I can see Jesse just coming in for a combination and Mana just dipping down for the overhand, but more likely than not, I do think Jesse's going to go down for the body shot, and then Mana is going to land another left hook knockout win in the first or second round. But it seems like an easy prediction. I mean, the chin of Jesse is absolute dog water. And then the power of Mana Martinez, the power that he does have in his hands. You mesh that with the chin of Jesse Schrader, it definitely does seem like we are going to see a knockout win from Mana Martinez right there. I'm calling first or second round knockout with a left hook counter. Or if he's going to be moving forward, landing a big overhand. But either way, left hook or overhand knockout, either way, I do think it's going to be a knockout in the first or second round. A good fight in the bantamweight division right there. B. Malecki and Josiane Nunes in the women's bantamweight division. B. Malecki 2 wins and 0 losses. Didn't really fight the best competition due to Santana, who has not fought in the UFC since that loss 2 years ago. She did win the fight by submission. Then Veronica Macedo, who again has not fought in the last 1.5 years. All the girls that she's beating aren't really UFC caliber, but she is 29.5 years old in the prime of her career. 7 inches taller. That is a humongous height and reach differential for Josiane Nunes, yeah. But Josiane, she's got a lot of power. That is the one thing that B. Malecki doesn't necessarily have. B. Malecki doesn't have that knockout power, especially that Josiane Nunes does have. It was 7 wins and 1 loss. Second round knockout win. I mean, a lot of second round knockout wins right here, but 6 knockout wins and 1 decision win right there. Got a lot of power, and the thing, sorry about that. The thing she's gonna be trying to do in the fight is just close the distance, because I mean, 5'2", 5'9", 74-inch reach. I'm assuming like a 68-inch reach. Just She's very small. She's not really big for the bantamweight division. I mean, I personally think she should probably go down like strawweight or flyweight, or maybe do some catch weights at 120 or something. She's too small for the bantamweight division. But for this fight right here, I either see Josiane Nunes closing that distance and landing a good shot and knocking out B. Malecki in the first or second, or B. Malecki using the height, using the reach. She has really good Muay Thai, really good front kicks to the body, the front kick to the face as well. Really good leg kicks, body kicks, all the kicks at range B. Malecki is going to have great success with, as well as her having the reach and height. She can just stick out the jab, the 1-2, all that type of stuff, and just kickbox at range on Josiane Nunes. And Josiane, all she can really do is just keep on coming to the inside, and just throw in power and look for the knockout. But I do think that B. Malecki, I mean, I don't necessarily think either fighter is UFC caliber. I think more B. Malecki is UFC caliber because Josiane Nunes pretty much only has the power. That is pretty much it. But B. Malecki, I think, is going to go out there, keep the fight at range, use the kicks. She does a good thing where she kind of does a front kick to the body and pushes off of them, which is going to be a good thing in the fight, especially fighting a girl like Josiane Nunes. You're going to need to push her back every now and then when she's getting a little too feisty going out there, coming forward a little bit too much. Just throw out that front kick, throw out that 1-2, throw out that jab, and just keep Josiane Nunes at bay, at range, where B. Malecki will have the advantage. So, seems like a pretty decent prediction right here. I do think B. Malecki is going to win the decision, but I would not be surprised if Josiane goes out there and gets the knockout. It is definitely possible, but I do think B. Malecki keeps the fight at range and wins the fight by a decision. But overall, a good fight in the bantamweight division. It's not going to be a bad fight because Josiane, every single fight, she's going out there looking for the finish. So it's going to be an exciting fight in the women's bantamweight division, but I am very slightly going to go for a decision from B. Malecki, keeping the fight at range and just, kickboxing with Josiane Nunes, putting out the jab, putting out the 1-2, and winning the fight by a decision right there. Yeah, overall, good fight in the bantamweight division right there. Ramirez Brahimaj and Sasha Palanika in the welterweight division. We know what Ramirez Brahimaj is going to try to do. 8 wins, 3 losses. Out of his 3 losses, he got the ear injury that was kind of nasty. I mean, his ear literally popped off from Max Driven. I believe it was a left hook. I'm not too sure how the ear popped off, but it did pop off. Before that, Justin Patterson decision loss and Evan Cutts decision loss. Other than that, I mean, first round submission win, second round submission win. All of his wins are submissions in the first and second round. The reason he's losing to Justin Patterson, Evan Cutts, and then Max Griffin in the third round or losing by decision is because he's going all out in the first and second for the takedown and looking for that submission. So his cardio is pretty bad. That is the main thing I do not like about Ramirez Brahimaj. If the fight goes past the first round, I'm going to go Sasha Palanika. That is just what's going to happen. He does not have the cardio to go 3 rounds. He definitely does not have the cardio to go like a 5-round main event or anything, but he needs a submission. He needs to go out there, land the double leg on Sasha Palanika, throw the big overhand right, get the takedown, and get the submission. If that doesn't happen, I see his cardio fading in that second and third round, where Sasha is going to be able to defend the takedowns much easier. And when Sasha is able to defend the takedowns in the later rounds where Ramirez is tired, I mean, we saw what Sasha can do when his opponent is tired. I mean, Luis Cosi is the perfect example. Luis is a really good wrestler, really good grappler, has a lot of submission and ground upon TKOs. He's the perfect type of guy to kind of compare to Ramirez Brahimaj, trying to get the fight down, takedown after takedown after takedown, tiring himself out in the first and second, and then, as we saw Sasha Palanikov do in the later rounds, he came back with his kicks, with his 1-2s, with his volume, with his pressure, and he ended up getting the knockout. I can definitely see this same thing happening here with Ramirez just kind of fading in the later rounds in the second and third round, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think Ramirez might win the first round with the wrestling and grappling, but I do think, just like Luis Cosi, he is going to fade in the second and third round, as Sasha, being the much better kickboxer, the much more powerful kickboxer, the faster kickboxer, the more volume in the kickboxing. I mean, Ramirez is just not the best boxer or kickboxer. He just literally throws the overhand and goes for the takedown. That is pretty much it. But for the fight, I'm definitely going to go Sasha Palanikov by a late finish. I'm going to go a TKO win. I don't think he's going to get a submission on Ramirez Brahimaj, but I do see Sasha Palanikov taking advantage just as he did with Luis Cosi, a very tired fighter that is a wrestler and grappler, and TKOing him in the second or third round. So my prediction right there is Sasha Palanikov by a late second or third round at TKO right there. Really good fight in the welterweight division. Clay Guida and Marco Madsen in the lightweight division now. This is a really good fight. I mean, Marco Madison is 36, almost 37 years old. Clay Guida, 39, almost 40 years old right there. So we have some veterans of the fight game, not necessarily the MMA game, because Marco Madison has not really been doing MMA for too long. He's an undefeated record of 10 wins, 0 losses, way back in 2008 and 2012, going to the Olympic Games. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. Has really good Greco-Roman wrestling, goes out there, just throws the jab out, throws a big overhand, a big right hook, pressures you to the back of the cage, and just gets you down and out wrestles and out grapples you. But in 2016, I believe that was the year he was the silver medalist. It was a gold medal match. So he was the silver medalist in wrestling. If he's the silver medalist in the whole entire world in wrestling, that means you're gonna be really good. I mean, he has really good trip takedowns in the cage, double leg takedowns. I mean, he's gonna be the much stronger fighter. He's gonna be the taller fighter than Clay Guida, the lengthier fighter than Clay Guida. I mean, Clay Guida probably is gonna have the striking advantage just because the man just goes out there, just throws a lot of volume, a lot of pressure. But I do see Marco Madison just doing what he always does, throwing a big shot, big overhand, a big right hook. And getting the fight to the clinch, getting the fight down, and just controlling the fight on the ground, where he is stronger, he is bigger, and he does have a really solid ground pound as well. So I do see Marco Madison just controlling the fight on the ground to a decision. I see the first and second round going Marco Madison, but the third round, that's where it gets a little interesting, because Clay Guida is the cardio king. I mean, they call him the carpenter, but he's Clay, the cardio king, Guida, in my opinion. I mean, come on, Clay Guida, he's the cardio guy. But the third round is where I kind of think Marco Madison is gonna kind of fade a little bit, not too much. I mean, it's not really a knock on Marco Madison's cardio. It's just a really good compliment on Clay Guida's cardio. I do think Marco Madison will win the first and will win the second, but in the third round, Mark will start to fade ever so slightly, and that's where Clay Guida is gonna put on that pressure in the striking game. I don't see Clay getting a takedown on Marco Madison, but I do see him having the better striking later on in the fight in the third round. So I see the first round going to Marco Madison with the wrestling and grappling. The second round, the same exact thing. And then the third round going to Clay Guida with the volume, with the pressure, and with that cardio that Clay Guida does have. So it's a good fight, Marco Madison and Clay Guida. Marco Madison is not very active. His last fight was a year and a half ago. Before that, 2 years ago. I mean, he hasn't been active too much lately. I'm not too sure why, if he was injured or anything like that. But it seems like a pretty easy prediction. He's bigger, he's stronger. I mean, a silver medalist in wrestling, that's pretty impressive. So I'm definitely going to go Marco Madison winning that fight by a 29-28 decision, winning the first and second round. Really good fight in the lightweight division. Luis Saldana and Austin Lingo in the featherweight division. Luis Saldana going to be the taller fighter by 1 inch, and then the lengthier fighter by 3 inches right there. This fight really comes down to the range management of Luis Saldana. That is really the key factor to if Luis is going to win or if Austin Lingo is going to win, is the range management. If Luis can go out there, stay on the outside, use his jab, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, attack the lead leg of Austin Lingo, and just stay on the outside and use his kicks, the front kick to the body, the front kick to the face, as we saw in Vince Murdoch right there. All the kicks at range, that's where Luis Saldana does his best, is kicking at range and just jabbing and 1-2ing at range. He's not going to be able to do that if he's under a lot of pressure. Austin Lingo, he doesn't really have the style to go out there with a lot of pressure and a lot of volume, but if you're fighting a guy like Luis Saldana that thrives when there's a lot of space between their opponents, where he can land a lot of leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, all that type of stuff, you're going to need to have a lot of pressure and a lot of volume. And I do think Austin Lingo will have that strategy and that game plan of just coming forward, popping out the jab, the left hook, the overhand right, and just throwing a lot of volume, a lot of pressure, and trying to keep the fight in close quarters, because once the fight starts to spread out a little bit, once Luis Saldana gets a little bit more space, that's when he's going to start attacking that lead leg, attacking the body, going for head kicks, going for front kicks, doing all that type of stuff. And that is where, of course, I'm going to go Luis Saldana to win. But if I'm not too sure if he'll be able to, it is a close fight, but if Austin Lingo can go out there and successfully put on the pace for the first and second round, close the distance, throw a lot of volume, and put on that pressure, I'm going to go Austin Lingo to win that first round and win that second round. I think in the third round, I might go Luis Saldana, because Austin Lingo, he's never really done that before, where he puts on that much of a pace and that much pressure, so I think he might gas out a little bit towards the end of that round, or towards the end of the fight in that third round, and maybe Luis Saldana wins that third round. But overall, the first and second round, if Austin Lingo can put on that pace, put on that pressure, and put on the volume, get Luis Saldana on the back foot, near the back of the cage, I'm going to go Austin Lingo. I'm going to go Austin Lingo. The betting odds for the fight are very, very close. Plus 135 and minus 155. I'm going to go with the underdog. I think Austin Lingo knows what he has to do. No one fighting Luis Saldana is going to do good if they're at range. Letting Luis land the jab, land the 1-2, land the leg kicks, body kicks, all that type of stuff. No one does good when you're at range against Luis Saldana. So Austin Lingo going out there, pressure, and just more pressure. That's all you really need to do. I know it's going to be a hard thing to do because your cardio is going to take a toll after the first and second round, but I do think the first and second round, Austin Lingo will put on the pressure, win the first and second. His cardio will fade in the third, and then Luis Saldana will win that third round, but I do have Austin Lingo winning the first round and barely winning the second round because that's when the cardio is going to kick in that second round. So if he can hold on to that cardio, hold on to that pressure in the second round, which I think he will, I'm going to go Austin Lingo right here. So it's a close one, very hard one to go. I do think it's 50-50. I do think the odds should be minus 110 and minus 110. But I think Austin Lingo pressures and wins the fight right there. So my prediction, Austin Lingo winning the fight by a 29-28 decision right there in the featherweight division. Really, really good fight right there. Vince Pichel and Austin Hubbard in the lightweight division. We've seen this like 1,000 times, man. Austin Hubbard does not really do that good against really, really good wrestlers and grapplers. He lost to Joe Selecki, getting the rear naked in the first round. Max Roskopf in that first round, Max took him down I believe two or three times in that first round. Marco Madison took him down 8 times and had 8 minutes of total control time. Davey Ramos controlled him on the ground. So all of his losses are to really good grapplers and wrestlers like Marco Madison, Davey Ramos, and then Joe Selecki, and then a little bit of Max Roskopf right there, but I kind of feel bad at this point. Austin Hubbard just keeps on fighting these really good wrestlers and grapplers. It's tough, man. I don't know why the UFC keeps on putting him against more and more wrestlers and grapplers, but Vince Pichel is much stronger than Austin Hubbard. He's going to go out there on the feet, just look to go for the jab, and then eventually go for the big right hand, big overhand. Close the distance, get the fight to the clinch, and look for the trip takedown or the double leg takedown. Probably going to be more of the double leg takedown. I think the single leg on Austin Hubbard, I don't think it'll work that well. Usually when you go on a single leg on Austin Hubbard, he gets up fairly easily. So on this fight with Vince Pichel and Austin Hubbard, I expect more of a double leg takedown attempt from Vince Pichel right here. So I do think Vince Pichel is going to kind of imitate the game plan of Joe Selecki, imitate the game plan of Marco Madsen, and just double leg over and over and over again. Get the fight down and just control. He doesn't really go for submissions on the ground. He usually just goes for a lot of ground pound. Out of his 13 wins and 2 losses, he does have 8 knockout wins, 2 submissions, and 6 decisions. So the ground pound of Vince Pichel is what's going to get him the win because those 8 knockouts are all ground pound knockouts. So Austin Hubbard, he could win. It is definitely a close fight because Austin Hubbard has a lot of experience against these wrestlers and grapplers. But if he can keep the fight on the feet, he's a much better striker than Vince Pichel, of course. The faster striker, the more powerful striker, throws more volume. Everything in the striking game, Austin Hubbard is better, but everything in the wrestling game, Vince Pichel is also better. So my prediction is going to be a 29-28 decision for Vince Pichel. I think he goes out there, gets the double leg multiple different times, maybe 4, maybe 5 takedowns, and controls the fight on the ground. The odds are super, super close on this one. Minus 110 and then minus 110 as it should be because if Austin Hubbard defends the takedowns, he's going to win the fight, but I don't think he will. My prediction is going to be a Vince Pichel grinding, wrestling, and then pounding decision winner right there. 29-28 decision in the lightweight division right there. Really good fight right there. Chase Sherman and Parker Porter in the heavyweight division. We have the GOAT in Parker Porter, the absolute GOAT of the UFC heavyweight division. Don't you dare talk about Francis Ngannou or Cyril Gane, Stipe Miocic. Parker Porter is the GOAT of the heavyweight division by far. I mean, the loss against Chris Dawkins, it doesn't count. It does not count. Keith Bell right there, it does not count. He's the GOAT of the heavyweight division. I'm joking, guys. All right. But yeah, Chase Sherman, 15 wins and 7 losses in the UFC. I mean, eesh. 1 win over Ike Villanueva, losing a dominant decision on. It wasn't that dominant. I mean, he won the first round, then lost the second round and the third round, but lost that fight right there. Before that, joined the UFC way back in 2016 and went 2-5. So right now in the UFC, he is 3-6. That's not too good. That is not too good. But I do think he will have the striking advantage over Parker Porter. He does have a really good left hook, which I think will land in the fight. Parker does like to come in with a big right hand, lots of volume on the feet. And when Parker is going for that right hand, coming to the inside and trying to land his combinations, that's where Chase Sherman needs to go like this, put his hand up right here, and then just go for that left hook. Because as someone goes for the right hand, their arm's going to go like that, and their side of their chin is going to be wide open for Chase Sherman with the reach and with the height to just throw out that left hand, and you can definitely land and get that left hook knockout win in the first or second round due to a counter from a right hand from Parker Porter. But there's also some other things that Chase Sherman could do to get the knockout. Of course, the 1-2 is really, really good. He just 1-2, 1-2 over and over and over again. He could get a nice right hand right down the pipe and knock out Parker Porter. Of course, that is a possibility. I see a lot of calf kicks from both fighters, to be quite honest. Parker and Chase Sherman, they both have pretty good inside calf kicks, and their outside calf kicks are pretty decent, but they're both a little bit better on the inside. But overall, I do think Chase Sherman, with the height, with the reach, is going to force Parker Porter to come to the inside, where Chase Sherman is going to counter him with a left hook, or just land that right hook, or that straight right down the pipe, and knock out Parker Porter. I do think Parker has a lot more volume than Chase Sherman, so if the fight does go all the way, where Chase Sherman's cardio is gonna not be too good, and where Parker Porter's volume is gonna get better and better, yeah, if the fight does go all the way, I will go Parker. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the fight will end in the first or second round. Either a left hook knockout win from Chase Sherman due to a counter shot as Parker's coming in for the right, or Chase Sherman just lands a nice right down the pipe. So either way, I'm gonna go Chase Sherman by knockout in the first or second round. Parker does have some pretty decent wrestling and grappling, but Chase's takedown defense, I believe, was like 75, 76%. It's really solid, so I don't expect any wrestling or grappling. My prediction is Chase Sherman by a knockout in the first or second round. A really good fight in the heavyweight division. William Knight and Fabio Sharon in the light heavyweight division. Now, William Knight is not a good striker. That's what I have to say for William Knight on the feet. He's not the best striker. He's 33 and a half years old, 5 foot 10 inches tall, so a little bit smaller than Fabio, a lot less in the reach department right there as well. But Fabio is going to have a significant striking advantage over William Knight. William's going to have a significant wrestling and grappling and ground pounding advantage over Fabio Sharon as well. So right here, the main ways I see William Knight winning would be to go out there, throw some big shots, close the distance, clinch up, and then get the takedown. We saw the last fight with Dawoon Jung. He got taken down a lot in that fight and got pretty much dominated, but Fabio Sharon's not going to be able to do what Dawoon Jung did. I kind of expect the opposite of William Knight getting the fight to the clinch and looking for true takedowns against the cage. Looking to get on top of Fabio Sharon and just ground pound for the decision win or the ground pound TKO. That would be the main way I do see William Knight winning, but if William Knight cannot get the takedown, Fabio Sharon is probably going to win. Not by knockout, because Fabio does not have any knockout wins. I mean, he has 0 knockout wins on his career so far. So if Fabio is going to win, it's going to be a decision. If William Knight wins, probably 50-50 on a ground pound TKO or a decision win. I'm not too sure how he's going to win the fight. Either a finish or a decision is very, very 50-50. But if William's going to win, it's going to be the wrestling and the ground pound. If Fabio's going to win, it's going to be at range and just kickboxing with William Knight. But Fabio, he does have one habit of his of just going for the guillotine when he doesn't really need to. The last fight against Alonzo Menifield was one of the examples. He has 2 more guillotines down here as well. So that guillotine, I think it might actually get him caught. I mean, in the fight with Alonzo Menifield, he went for the guillotine. He was not going to get it. He was in I believe Alonzo Menifield was in side control, and he still had the guillotine. I had no idea why. Then Alonzo put on that Von Flue and choked him out. But Fabio, I mean, he goes for guillotines when he doesn't necessarily need to, and that just makes it a little bit more easy for William Knight to kind of just, all right, you're going to go for a guillotine. That's a free takedown. Get out of the guillotine and then start your ground pound. So Fabio's guillotines, I don't think that's really an asset to him in the fight. Maybe he could use it to defend the takedowns. Like if they're in the clinch, he can kind of squeeze on it a little bit to get William Knight to kind of pressure off a little bit. But other than that, I don't see him really needing to go for the guillotine because it kind of gets him stuck and getting him taken down by his opponents every now and then as well, like we saw last time. But for this fight right here, I do think William Knight is going to win. He's the better wrestling, he's a really good ground and pound, and I think he's going to control the fight on the ground for 3 rounds. Maybe we'll see ground and pound TKO. It's very, very possible because Alex Kimura did get a TKO win. Yeah, it was a flying knee to ground and pound, but right here with William Knight and Fabio Sharon, I do have William Knight getting the takedowns, getting the fight to the clinch, tripping Fabio Sharon down, controlling the fight on the ground, ground and pound, and winning the fight by a decision. But really good fight in the light heavyweight division. Put your predictions in the comment section below. William Knight or Fabio Sharon, but my prediction, William Knight by a ground and pound TKO. Good fight in the light heavyweight division. Brian Kelleher and Domingo Pilarte in the bantamweight division. Now, Domingo, the man is tall, the man is lengthy, especially for this bantamweight division. I mean, have you seen any 6-foot tall bantamweights walking around? I have not seen any, but he's very tall, very lengthy. He's kind of built like he's a lightweight or a maybe even a welterweight in terms of his height and in terms of his reach. But I already know that weight cut. Oh god, dude! Imagine being 6 foot tall and having to go all the way down to 135. That is nuts, man. That is too much weight to cut down, man. I know the weight cut is gonna affect him a lot, and we do know Brian Kelleher is Brian Boom Kelleher. He does have some pretty good power in his hands. 8 knockout wins. I don't know, with those type of weight cuts where you're really, really big and you're cutting down really, really small, your chin kind of gets a little bit softened up a little bit. So Brian Kelleher could definitely get the knockout right here. I do think Domingo Pilarte in this fight is going to need to keep the fight on the feet at range. And as Brian Kelleher is coming in, he needs to go for the takedown and just not get caught in the guillotine. The guillotine of Brian Kelleher, it is dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous. I mean, we can go on his Tapology right here. Guillotine on Ray Rodriguez. Guillotine on Ode Osborne. Let's see, guillotine on L'Oreal Contra. Julio Arce guillotine. Jay Haas guillotine. I mean, guillotine. All of these wins are guillotine choke submissions. So it's so hard for a guy like Domingo Pilarte, who usually goes out there trying to get the fight down, ground pound, and look for his submissions. It's going to be so hard to go on a takedown on Brian Kelleher because of the guillotine. I mean, it's going to be so tough for him. But in this fight with Brian Kelleher and Domingo Pilarte on the feet, I see it as a very 50-50 because Domingo Pilarte, being that much taller and that much lengthier, doesn't really have the best striking, but he could kind of keep range 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and just keep range and win the fight that way. But Brian, I know, is going to pressure the heck out of Domingo on the feet, get the fight to the clinch, and either Brian's going to go for the takedown, and I think he can definitely get the takedown and control the fight on the ground and win the fight that way, or Domingo goes for the takedown and gets caught in the guillotine. So if Domingo goes for the takedown, I see Brian winning by guillotine. If Brian goes for the takedown, I think he won't have as good of success as some of his other fights. Maybe like a 1 out of 3 takedown attempt. Success rate on Domingo Pilarte right here. Overall, I think eventually Brian will get maybe 1, maybe 2 takedowns in the fight. Keeping the fight even on the feet, those takedowns will give him the edge. And again, Domingo Pilarte, I just don't see him using the wrestling or the grappling just because the guillotine, I mean, it's absolutely nuts how good he is at the guillotine. But I am going to go Brian Kelleher. I'm going to go guillotine. I'm gonna go a guillotine submission win in the first or second round. I can see Brian winning the decision, just keeping it even on the feet, lots of pressure, lots of volume on the feet, and mixing in some of his offensive takedowns on Domingo. But I already know Domingo is gonna go for some takedowns of his own, and it's gonna get him caught. I mean, Brian, he's gonna be on the front foot. When you're on the front foot and Domingo goes for the takedown, he's gonna be right here. His head's gonna be right here. Get in the guillotine, and I think he's going to get it in the first or second round. So right here in the bantamweight division, my prediction of Brian Kelleher as Domingo Pilarte is going for a single leg, or I really don't know if he's going to go a single leg or double leg. More likely a double leg in my opinion, but when he's going for that takedown, I see him going for that guillotine choke submission and winning the fight in the first or second round. A really good fight in the bantamweight division right there. Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval in the flyweight division. Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval on the feet are very, very even because Brandon Royval is going to be 4 inches taller and is going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. So on the feet, at range, he can definitely stay on the outside and get his strikes on the outside, jab, 1-2, leg kicks, body kicks, all that type of stuff, and win the fight at range. But we know Alexandre, he has a lot of power in his hands. Out of 23 wins and 5 losses in the UFC, you got a knockout win on Wilson Hayes, got a knockout win on Matt Schnell. Let's see where he's had a lot of other knockout wins, but those two are the most notable out of all of them. 8 knockouts, 9 submissions, and 8 decision wins right there. So Alexandre has a lot of power. Brandon Royval, he doesn't really have that much power in my opinion. Only 3 knockout wins, 8 submissions, and 1 decision right there. But if I would have to pick someone to get the knockout, it would definitely be Alexandre Pantoja. On the feet, I see Brandon keeping range and then eventually looking to latch in a takedown and get the fight to the ground, or just stay in range and just winning the fight that way. If I was Alexandre Pantoja, lots of pressure, get the fight in close distance, and just start throwing. Because when you get into that firefight between Pantoja and Royval, who's going to win the firefight? It's going to be a Pantoja. He has a lot more power. He's going to be a lot faster of a striker than Brandon Royval. He's going to have the advantage there for sure. So close the distance, throw a lot of pressure, and then just make it a firefight in close quarters on Brandon Royval and look for the knockout. If that does not work, I still think he does have the wrestling advantage over Brandon Royval, plus the fact that Brandon does like to go for a lot of submissions on bottom. Got a guillotine, an armbar submission win, a triangle, armbar, triangle again. I mean, all of his submission wins are on the ground by guillotine, armbar, or triangle. Every single one of them are ground submission wins where he's on his back, he's going for the guillotine, on the back, going for the triangle. Everything, all the submissions are him on the back. So I kind of give that an advantage to Alexandre Pantoja, because if Brandon Royval wants to go to the back, Alexandre has really good jiu-jitsu as well, and I believe we'll be able to defend those submissions from the bottom and just get a little control time as well. So the striking, I see Alexandre putting a lot of pressure and trying to land with that right hand and closing that distance, getting the takedown and controlling on the ground as well. So on the feet, I see it really, really close, but I see Alexandre landing the more powerful strikes and landing a little bit more, because he's faster and more powerful as well. So I give him the advantage on the feet. In the clinch, I'll give Alexandre the advantage as well. And then on the ground, I'll give the advantage to Alexandre with the wrestling and the control on top of Brandon Royval. But you never know, those sneaky submissions on the bottom from Brandon Royval. The guillotine, the triangle, the armbar. He can definitely latch one up, but I don't think that's gonna happen with the really good jiu-jitsu of Alexandre Pantoja. I do think the fight is gonna stay on the feet for a little bit, then go to the ground, then go to the clinch. It's gonna be all over the place in terms of where the fight takes place, but everywhere the fight goes, in my opinion, I do think Alexandre Pantoja will have the advantage. So my prediction: Alexandre Pantoja winning the fight by a unanimous decision right there. Really good fight in the flyweight division. Jared Cannonier and Kelvin Gastelum in the middleweight division, the main event on short notice right here for August 21st right here. Now, Jared Cannonier was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. That fight, I probably would have went Paulo Costa with his power. He probably would have went forward and landed a good shot and knocked out Jared Cannonier. But in this fight, it makes it a lot more interesting. Kelvin Gastelum is going to be a lot less in the height department, a lot less in the reach department as well. Jared having a 6-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch height advantage, but he's going to have the age disadvantage. He's going to have the power disadvantage as well. Kelvin is more powerful. He might, I don't know if he's going to be the more fast striker, but the speed and the speed is going to be very, very even, but he's going to be a lot younger than Jared Cannonier as well. And he has the 5-round experience. He fought Israel Adesanya, coming off a loss against Robert Whittaker. He's got a lot of 5-round fights in his career so far, so I think that 5-round experience is definitely going to pay dividends in this fight with a guy like Jared Cannonier, who I believe this is his first 5-round, I believe, because the Jack Hermanson fight was supposed to be a 5-rounder, but he did knock him out, I believe, in the second round. But right here, Jared, I think, is not going to do too good in the later rounds, but will do really, really good in the early rounds. The early rounds, I have him keeping the fight on the feet, of course, defending the takedowns on Kelvin, and just attacking that lead leg of Kelvin, staying on the outside, body kick, leg kick, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and winning most of the early rounds. If Kelvin is to win the early rounds, he needs to have a very, very wrestling-heavy game plan in the early rounds of the fight. He does have some pretty good wrestling, if I'm being quite honest. If we go right here, let's check. 1 takedown per fight, 37% takedown accuracy, but in his last couple of fights, he had 6 takedowns on Ian Heinisch. Other than that, he didn't show the best wrestling in all the other fights, but Jared Cannonier doesn't really have the best takedown defense of 54%, getting taken down 3 times by David Branch, taken down 4 times by Jan Blachowicz, 3 times by Glover. Doesn't really have the best takedown defense, but even though the takedown defense isn't there, the scrambling is there. Right after he gets taken down, he gets up, walks the cage, and gets right back up on the feet. So I don't see any control, any ground and pound, any submissions, all that type of stuff from Kelvin Gastelum, because Jared Cannonier, he just does really, really good at getting right back up on the feet. So any takedowns, I have Jared just getting right back up. But I do think for the most part, this fight will be staying on the feet. Jared, I think, will win the first and second round. And Kelvin, with a 5-round experience, the cardio advantage and just the volume advantage later on in the fight, will win the 4th and 5th round. It really, in my opinion, is going to come down to that 3rd round. And who wins that 3rd round? It's a really tough prediction because Kelvin is going to win the later rounds, and Jared, in my opinion, is going to win the early rounds. It's a very, very close one. I don't see any wrestling. I don't see any grappling, but I do think Jared is going to land a lot to the leg on Kelvin. It's going to pay a lot of dividends. The body kicks are going to pay dividends as well. I'm going to go Jared Cannonier. It's a close one. I'm definitely not favoring him as much as the betting odds were, because the betting odds at one point had Jared at a minus 240, which I think is absolutely insane. They went way up to minus 160, right where they probably should be. I think it should be a little bit closer than they are right now, maybe minus 135 for Jared, but it is a short notice fight. But I do think Jared Cannonier is going to go out there, land the harder shots. Yeah, Kelvin does have a lot of power, but Jared is going to land to the leg a lot, land a lot of body shots, land a lot of leg kicks, and just 1-2 on the outside, stay on the outside for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. And I see Kelvin coming back in the 4th and 5th, winning those rounds, but it won't be enough. It's going to be close, man. It's going to be a really, really close fight. If Kelvin is able to land the takedowns, I would definitely go Kelvin winning the fight, but I don't see him landing the takedowns and controlling the fight there. So it's a close one. It can definitely go either way. Definitely a lot closer than those betting odds, of course. Really, really close one right there in the middleweight division. The main event of UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Gastelum. But my prediction is Jared Cannonier, a 48-47 decision right there. I don't see Kelvin getting the knockout. I don't see Jared getting the knockout. I see this fight going all the way at Jared Cannonier in a very close 48-47 unanimous decision. A really good fight in the middleweight division right there. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. 14 fights on the entire fight card. I got Jared Cannonier winning his fight, Alexandre Pantoja winning his fight, Brian Kelleher winning his fight, William Knight winning his fight, Chase Sherman winning his fight, Vince Pichel winning his fight, Austin Lingo winning his fight, Marco Madison winning his fight, Sasha Palanika winning his fight, B. Maleki winning her fight, Mana Martinez winning his fight, Ignacio Bajamon winning his fight, Courtney Casey winning her fight, and then Abdul Razak Al Hassan winning his fight right there. Really good fight card right there. I expect this fight to maybe be a finish right there. Maybe we'll see a finish there. Possible finish here for sure. We'll probably see a finish here. Maybe a ground pound TKO. And definitely there's a good possibility of a finish right there. I expect 3, 4, possibly 5 fights on this fight card to be finishes, but really good fight card. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and everything like that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Let's go.